A group of hoodlums kidnap the daughter of a tycoon. They hope to procure $50 million by ransoming her, but they will soon find out that they messed with the wrong girl. Abigail is a ballet student. It is night when she returns home to a huge mansion where there doesn't seem to be anyone. She goes up to her room while getting a call from her father. Abigail talks to him until people with their faces covered suddenly appear and subdue her, rendering her unconscious. At that moment, they are alerted that someone is approaching. They quickly put the girl in a suitcase and walk towards the back exit. When the alarms go off, the kidnappers are forced to run until they get out through the wall and leave in a van. On the way, they check that the girl is all right and then blindfold her. They arrive at a house far from the city. They are greeted by their leader, a man named Lambert. He orders them to take the girl to a room, secure her, and search for surveillance equipment. Later, everyone meets with him, and he gives them some instructions. They cannot reveal their real names or personal stories, so if someone is captured, they cannot betray any of their colleagues. The job will last 24 hours, during which they will play the role of babysitters. However, only one of the two women, the one with dark hair, will be able to be with the girl. That way, the girl will only hear one voice. One of the women asks who the girl belongs to which Lambert replies that she belongs to a billionaire who will be 50 million poorer. He assures them that they are safe there, but to ensure they cannot be tracked, he takes away their cell phones. Then they give temporary names to everyone: Frank, Joey, Sammy, Peter, Dean, and Rickles. Finally, he tells them that the kitchen and the bar are stocked so they can feel comfortable. Then he leaves, leaving them alone. The group wastes no time, and everyone except Joey has a drink. Despite the rule of not revealing personal information, Dean tries to guess what each of them does, but he is wrong about everything. Joey, on the other hand, turns out to be more perceptive and discovers that Frank used to be a detective. Peter suffered abuse in his childhood, so as he grew up, he strove to become stronger than others. Sammy, a hacker, is from a rich family and does it just for fun. Dean is the best driver around. Although unprofessional, Frank deduces that Joey was an addict due to her love for candies. She doesn't seem to like this, so she leaves to check on the girl. After entering the room, she sees that Abigail has regained consciousness. The girl is scared and mentions that the bandage is too tight. Joey covers her face before taking it off and then adjusts her handcuffs so they don't hurt her. The girl, crying, asks if they will hurt her, to which Joey answers no, as long as she obeys her and her father pays the ransom. Abigail doesn't seem convinced, so Joey reassures her. Abigail tells her that her father thought he wanted a child, but then just lost interest. He doesn't care about me, and he won't come to rescue me. At the end, when Joey is about to leave, she says, "I'm sorry about what's going to happen to you." When Joey returns to the group, Peter and Sammy are having a drinking game. Rickles is playing pool, and Dean is drinking alone, but Joey goes to talk to Frank to ask if he knows the name of Abigail's father. He answers that he doesn't, and Joey cautions him that the girl indicated her father might be a particularly vicious person. With this uncertainty in his mind, Frank decides to visit the girl, even though he shouldn't. After entering, he is shocked to see the girl without the blindfold, so he covers his face while threatening her with a weapon. The girl turns away as Frank demands to know who her father is. Abigail anxiously mentions the name Christophe Lazar. Frank leaves the room extremely upset, saying that he is leaving and that they should divide his share. The rest follow him and ask him what's going on. When Frank reveals who Abigail's father is, everyone is stunned except for Sammy, who doesn't know what's going on. They explain to her that Lazar is an urban legend, a very dangerous man. The group discusses what they should do: return the girl in the hope that they will be forgiven, leave her there, and then make an anonymous call informing him where she is, or end her life since she has already seen Frank's face. After thinking for a moment, they decide to go on for the next 22 hours in order to take home $7 million each. Rickles takes the first watch while Joey checks inside for exits. On her way, she comes across an old elevator and then a large library. Then she meets Rickles, who says he doesn't trust anyone but her, so they should watch each other's backs, to which Joey agrees. Meanwhile, Sammy turns on the TV in her room to pass the time when suddenly Dean appears behind her, giving her a good scare. Dean is drunk, and his attraction to Sammy makes him think they could have some fun. However, all he gets are screams asking him to leave. On his way out, Dean finds Peter at the bar, sleeping soundly. Then he goes to a dark spot and lights his lighter. There are paintings on the walls, and in one of them, you can see a girl like Abigail. He then comes to the kitchen and looks in the fridge for some food. When the door behind it opens, Dean heads over to see who's there when a rat nearly gives him a heart attack. Dean turns around when he hears the rat's piercing squeak followed by complete silence. Suddenly, someone or something grabs his feet and pulls him. Dean screams and tries to hold onto the stands, but he can't. Sammy was watching TV when she hears the screams. She goes out to see what's going on and finds Dean sitting at the table. She approaches him as his head separates from his body. Sammy's screams wake Peter up, and when he arrives, he finds Sammy vomiting and Dean's body decapitated. When the rest find them, they don't know what to believe. They assume it was an animal or Lazar's hitman, Valdez. Rickles tells them a story where 3 of Lazar's top men got caught a few years ago. The FBI flipped them. The night before the trial, they were all staying on the top floor of a hotel. 12 agents were in the next room and 2 at the door. The next day, the FBI enters the room and finds all the bodies torn apart. It is said that Lazar has a contract killer named Valdez and that he was the one who eliminated those men. Expecting that he has shown up for Abigail, everyone decides to check that she is secured. Seeing that this is the case, Rickles decides to leave. However, while attempting to leave through the same door that Lambert used, he finds that it is locked. Peter tries to force it open but fails, and at that moment, all the windows close. Rickles soon discovers that his weapon is not where he left it, and while talking to Abigail, Joey finds out that Frank is Valdez, or at least that's what the girl tells her. Rickles meets with Joey, and they share what they have found. They decide to look for an exit, but barely take a few steps when Joey sees Rickles standing still. She approaches and finds his face destroyed and covered in blood. Somehow within seconds he was killed. Joey grabs the gun in her hand, looking for Frank. When the 4 are reunited, she accuses him of being responsible for Dean and Rickles' deaths. Everyone seems confused, so Joey tells them everything Abigail said to her. Frank can't believe a girl is threatening her, so he orders Peter to finish her off. Peter goes up to Abigail's room and takes out his gun. However, before he shoots, Joey stops him. Frank and Sammy arrive minutes later. Both Frank, Peter, and Joey argue, and Sammy is the only one to see how easily Abigail removes the handcuffs. When the rest see her, the girl's teeth change and become sharp. She jumps on Peter and plans to bite him until Frank shoots her in the forehead and the girl falls to the ground. No one understands what's going on, especially when Abigail gets back up and wipes her forehead as if nothing had happened. The girl roars, and Joey shoots her before Frank closes the door, locking her in. The 4 meet and discuss what to do. Sammy doesn't have the equipment to open the doors or windows. Besides, as incredible as it may seem, everyone agrees that the girl is not normal. So they start sharing everything they know about vampires, and Peter goes for pool cues to use them as stakes while Sammy goes for garlic. After returning, Frank prepares to finish off Abigail. Everyone follows him except Joey. She is not willing to risk her life against a vampire girl. After reaching the room she should be in, they find that she has escaped. At that moment, music is heard coming from the floor above. The 3 arrive at a room where they find Abigail dancing with Dean's decapitated body. Sammy is the first to confront her. The girl has more strength and knocks her down, taking the garlic from her hand to smell it. Abigail gets angry and starts hitting her repeatedly. Frank tries to help, but is easily knocked down. Peter manages to lift her up, but they both fall. He carries a cross that the girl uses to stab him several times. Frank manages to get up and tries to stab Abigail with the stake, but she stops him and stabs him in the leg. The 3 leave with cries of pain while Abigail watches them and smiles. Joey was waiting for them and is not surprised to see them hurt. She removes the stake from Frank's leg and then proposes another plan since their weapons were no longer effective. She shows them the needle with the sedative they used to get her out of the house. Joey is certain she wasn't pretending to sleep as her breathing was calm. So she suggests splitting up. When someone finds her, she should inform them on the radio so Joey can arrive with the needle. Nobody can think of a better idea, so everyone agrees except Frank. Joey and Sammy try to find her, except for Peter. He takes his time, enjoying what could be his last drink. Sammy reaches a dark hallway when some bats fly out. She gets startled and ends up falling into the pool, but she's not alone. Around her, there are many decaying bodies. Her screams are heard over the radio, and Joey races to find her. Meanwhile, Peter meets Abigail. He runs as fast as he can, followed by the girl, until a door hits him and he falls from the second level. Frank arrives behind the door, so Abigail's attention shifts to him. She pushes him down the stairs and then strangles him. However, before she can finish, Joey arrives, but the girl sees her and throws her needle behind some bars. Joey rushes to get her covered while Sammy lunges at the girl, who ends up biting her lower arm. Abigail then grabs Frank by his feet and starts dragging him away until Peter arrives and falls on top of her. The girl is strong, but Peter manages to pin her down long enough for Joey to retrieve the needle and inject her. Slowly, Abigail's struggles subside until she falls asleep. Now the question is, what will happen to Sammy? Abigail is trapped in the elevator that Joey found earlier. They investigate and find that she was the one who brought them there with the help of Lambert, who works for her. However, they were not chosen randomly. Each of them had impacted her father's business in some way, so her goal was likely revenge and to have some fun at the same time. However, Joey discovers that it's not just that. Abigail's father had actually lost interest in her, and she is partly doing this in the hope that he will love her again. Abigail offers to let one of them go in exchange for getting her out. Peter believes her and tries, but only ends up getting shot by Joey. In the end, they both go up to tend to him. Sammy isn't willing to stay, so she goes with them, leaving Frank to watch over Abigail. Left alone, Abigail proposes again. "Open the door, and I will let you keep all your blood." Frank thinks he's smarter, so he makes her tell him how to get out before releasing her. Abigail lets him know that there is a mysterious entryway in the bookshop and that on the right rack there is a book called And Then There Were None, which he opens. Realizing this, Frank plans to leave the girl locked up forever. Yet, the girl just grins because this is all part of her game and getting captured is essential for it. Easily, she kicks down the door and lunges at Frank. She's about to finish him off when Joey shows up. She sees them, but also notices daylight coming from a blocked window. She manages to open a small part, just enough for the sun's rays to touch Abigail's hand, which explodes as the girl screams. Frank and Joey watch as her hand regenerates, and then leaves. They both reach the bookshop with the window, allowing in the daylight because of her bite. Sammy slowly brings her hand closer until she finds that everything seems fine. Meanwhile, Frank searches the right rack until he finds the book that Abigail had mentioned. Although he is disappointed to see that nothing happens when he removes it, they are clearly trapped with Abigail, waiting for dusk to end her game. However, it occurs to Sammy that with a power source she could cause a short circuit so the doors and windows would open. Frank is reluctant to go with her, fearing that she could turn into a vampire at any moment. So Peter, who has started to appreciate her, decides to go with her while Frank and Joey search for her on their side. As they walk, Sammy begins to hear Abigail's voice in her mind as she notices how the bite on her arm fades, and suddenly Sammy stops being herself and is controlled by Abigail. Peter doesn't realize it until it is too late and is attacked by the vampire until he dies from blood loss. Over the radio, Joey and Frank hear Sammy's voice calling for help. They rush to find her until they find her on her back, crouching over Peter's body. From her behavior, Joey soon realizes that something isn't right, and when Sammy turns around, her suspicions are confirmed. She and Frank run until they return to the bookshop, followed by the vampire. Then Joey sees a plate and uses it to reflect sunlight onto Sammy's body, which explodes at that exact instant. Suddenly, they see a mysterious door open. They go in to investigate and end up meeting Lambert, who also turns out to be a vampire. He grabs Joey's neck as he explains to Frank that he brought him there to offer him a deal. Abigail turned him into a vampire a long time ago to gather enemies of her father so she could play games with them. However, Lambert has had enough and needs Frank's help to eliminate Abigail and her father and take over all her business. The explanation he offers to Blunt, and not another person, is because they have worked and known each other for quite a while. Blunt's desire wins out, and he consents to be converted by Lambert on the condition that he not control him. Lambert slams Joey against the wall, bites Blunt, and lets him drink some of her blood. Blunt soon transforms, but instead of finishing off Joey, he drives a stake through Lambert, staining the entire place with her blood. Next on her list is Joey, but suddenly Abigail appears. The girl is unfazed to see Blunt turn into a vampire and runs towards him to dispose of him. However, he grabs her and bites her on the neck, sucking her blood. Joey takes advantage of the moment and opens the doors and windows, revealing that it is getting dark. She then finds her phone and leaves. She searches for a way out, but finds the door locked, and no matter how hard she tries, she can't open it. Aware that she has little time left, she decides to leave a message for her son, whom she abandoned, saying that she loves him and always will. Blunt soon appears, grabs Joey, and knocks open the door. He starts throwing her around, but when he drops her from the second level, Abigail appears and catches her in her arms. She claims to be too weak and needs her help to kill him, so she teams up with her. Although Blunt fights back and even bites Joey, they both end up stabbing him with a stake, causing him to explode, covering the place in blood. Abigail thanks Joey for her help. She is concerned that Blunt bit her, but Abigail assures her that she will be fine now that he is gone. Joey finally prepares to leave when a man appears behind her. It turns out to be Lazar, Abigail's father. He intends to finish off Joey, but Abigail stops him, saying that thanks to her, she is still alive. Hearing this, Lazar allows Joey to leave, and she does so. It is night when she goes out, and after entering the van, she enjoys a sweet. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.